Hello and welcome to our Mob Wars plugin tutorial. First we want to go over what this plugin actually does really quick and briefly. First I'd like to thank Inglorious B for actually putting together all our footage and doing all the editing here. He does a lot of good work for me, so thank you Inglorious and everybody else on the MineCraft network that's helped test this plugin. Now the way this plugin works is so as you see here, you know, our players are combating these mobs, and more mobs are spawning in, and there's this beacon shooting up in the sky. So we'll go over more what all those things are, and what the battle beacon is, and how the mobs work, and the rewards and all that in the later parts of this tutorial. What we wanted to cover here is basically an introduction of how it works, what it does. So, and it's fully customizable, so no matter what language you speak, the configuration set up for it. This plugin is truly universal. So, alright, and we'll kick it off with part 1. Let's see. Alright, so this is part 2 of 3 of our Mob Wars demonstration for you all today. What I want to do in this part is go over configuration and setup and installation and things like that. The main thing to know is, just like many other plugins, you're just going to drop the mobwars.jar into your plugins folder, and it's going to generate a Mob Wars folder when it starts up the first time. You'll have 5 YML files that'll be generated and a data folder. Inside the data folder will be 4 other YML files. Those files aren't really to be modified unless you have a bug, and I'm telling you how to fix it by, you know, deleting one of those files or something like that. But as a rule of thumb, don't touch those, even though one says rewards. We'll get to that later. Those are edited through the commands in game and things like that. So, like I say, on startup, all 5 of these will be created. Now, config.yml is where we're going to start out, because that's where basic configuration is done. The other 4 are your battle groups, you know, like your mob war groups. So that's what novice, hardened, legendary, and expert are. So we're going to go ahead and let's take a look at config.yml here. Good. So at the top of each configuration, I always kind of briefly go over what everything is. So here in the green, those are comments. They don't do anything. They're just there to help you. So please read it. It also, you know, I'm going to put a link in there to the Spigot page so you can get back to me to test it out. So let's get started. As you've seen, the mobs all spawn in and they kind of have a glow around them. Well, this glowing mob's true. That's where that came from. If you set that to false, the mobs won't glow. There are some things with Optifine that will cause them to be pure white right now. We think that's just a 1.9.2 thing, and they'll get it worked out. But if not, you know, we have a tutorial we've wrote on how to get it to work with Optifine by tweaking some of the settings. So we'll have a link in there to that as well for your players. Now, display custom name, we'll get to that, but in the other configurations, you can name the mobs, and their display names can be color coded and everything. That determines whether that shows for those mobs or not. So if you don't want to use the custom names, set that to false, and then it won't use them. The countdown section announces at each of those intervals below, like an hour with 1 hour left, with 45 minutes left, with 30 minutes left, and so on, if or when the mob war's going to start. So basically, at an hour till, it'll say, hey, whenever it's an hour till those 4 mob wars, or whichever war, right, it'll announce that war. And same thing for 30 seconds, 10, 5, and 1. The battle group name. So this is really important, this section right here. The battle group name section is the battle groups. Like, there's the 4 YML files you saw. Well, if I was to add another one, which we're going to do just to show it done, we're going to add one called test group. Okay, and I'll save it and we'll upload it and restart the server in just a second, and you'll see what that does when I did that. What it'll do is it'll generate a new YML file for a battle group named test group, right? And it'll populate it with everything that Novice has by default, so you can go in and edit it later. And then below that is just all the messages that the plugin does output, and color codes are effective. And if you see something like this, like %name, that's the mob war name, percent name percent. If you use that on the ones that you saw me use it on, it will work, and it'll substitute the mob name in there, or mob war group name. Now, so that's basically it for config.yml. It's really simple here. The main configuration is done in the mob wars himself. So we've added test group. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and we're going to update config, and then we're going to go to our test server here real quick. We're going to stop it so it can reload the configuration. And reload commands I'm not a big fan of. I think they just cause a lot of trouble and a lot of extra coding for nothing, when restarting a server is truly the best thing to do for the plugin. And there we go. You see test group's been generated. So what we're going to do is I'll show you test group, and I'll show you the example of it, and then we'll look at like a different one that I've configured for my uses. And the cool thing here is, again, you see at the top that I've already put in a bunch of information for you up here. You can use that to your advantage and help you to learn how to set up these configurations. By default, whenever all 4 of those mob wars are created, the first 4, which is novice, hardened, legendary, and expert, epic, by default they're all enabled or not enabled. So the first time you start this plugin, nothing's going to happen. It'll just generate the files and wait on you to edit them. Because in my mind, I don't want my mobs and my rewards spawning in on your server or anything like that until you've had a chance to get in and look at it and set it the way you want it. So if you like it the way I have it, that's fine. Set this to true here, and then the next time around, that one will be enabled. Okay, so we're not going to do that with this one because we're on my test server, but I will walk through it with you on this one. So the world to battle in is the world that you want this mob group to spawn within. Okay, that's important. Maybe you want to do one in the nether. Maybe you want to do one in the overworld. Maybe you want to do one in the end, right? That lets you do that. The max mobs alive at a time, that determines how many mobs out of your group could be alive at a time. The mobs are randomly chosen. So if I have, 10 creepers, 5 endermen, and 3 of these, it could spawn in 5 creepers at a time, right? Technically. And maybe 1 enderman. You never know. It's random. But the max mobs alive at a time limits how many can actually be out at a time. So that's kind of important. So you definitely want to think about that when you're thinking about, how heavy it's going to be on your system and your players to have more mobs. It's not always better to allow more mobs alive at a time. Maybe do less mobs and increase their health and increase their damage or potions or whatever, right? Because in that case, it's still going to be just as hard because they're fighting custom mobs, but it's not going to be as laggy. So think about that some as well. So the radius to spawn the mobs within determines from the beacon point how many blocks in each direction should I allow a mob to spawn within. So a radius, 2 radius make a diameter, so that would be a 20 by 20 diameter, or a 20 diameter, creating a 20 by 20 box around the beacon that the mobs will spawn within. I recommend not making that too big because it can be a little bit of a pain to chase them all down for your players, but that's up to you. If you build an arena and you want them to all spawn within it, set that as your radius. The beacon drop time before event in minutes determines how long before this event starts should I drop a beacon and let people know where the coordinates are at. Coordinates are not generated until the beacon drop occurs. That's when it actually does the coordinate location finding. So that will tell you the coordinates. Now if you set that to the same time of the event, which would be the time between rounds in minutes, if you set that the same, then the beacon will drop right away. X value 1, 2, and Z value 1 and 2, those are used to determine where you want this beacon to fall within. Okay, so right now by default it will be, when I release it, negative 1000s and 1000. But so let's say that this was 100, right? And then this was 100 here on the Z1. That will put a point basically at X1, Z1, right? And then if this was negative 100. And then this was negative 100. That would put a point at negative 100, 100, negative 100, right? So basically, if you put your finger on both of those points and then create a rectangle or a square around them, either one, it could be either, it'll fall somewhere within that area. So I hope that helps explain that. If you have questions about any of this, please ask on Spigot. I will help. The round time in seconds determines how long, once the war starts, should it continue. You know, so that again, what I did, you know, to configure mine was I anticipated, look, 3 or 4 people for most of them. On Legendary, I want to see 7 or 8 people to take it down. So on the default one you're going to get from me, we've tested it on our server with like 5-10 people at a time. Works great. You could increase the round time or decrease it as necessary depending on player count on your server on average. And then, like I said, what we said before, the time between round and minutes is how long until the next one occurs. That counter will not begin until the previous one has ended. If you beat it, it'll end early. If you don't beat it, it'll end at whenever round time in seconds is up. So, and then mob drops enabled determines whether or not mobs drop items when you kill them. I have that disabled. The reason is I put custom gear on my mobs, along with other things. So I recommend if you're going to give rewards, do it through the reward system. Don't do it this way. But I left it in there just in case you really want it on. As an important note, if it is a charged creeper that's in your group, I never let them ever let them spawn in mob heads. To me that's just a severe exploit. So I don't let that happen at all, even if this is true. On the mobs can pick up items. That allows them to pick up your items if you drop them or anything like that. I set it to false by default, but I'm probably going to set it so my players keep their inventory. But there's other plugins to do that, so I haven't incorporated that yet into this one. The mob type. So at this point we're at, and this is a big part, as you can see, 45 to 235 in lines. But this is where we get into the real configuration of the mobs for this group. So I'm going to go through each mob really briefly, but I'm going to hit the main points on what every mob does have. Every mob has an amount, which is the total mobs that'll be spawning through that event of that type. And that health points will be the health points that creepers have for that. That each creeper has. The potion effect, I listed up here other potion effects. I'm going to go ahead and open that up real quick so you guys can take a peek at it. Here. The absorption, blindness, confusion, damage resistance, and those things. Those are all potion effects that are valid. You have to spell them exactly as they say here. Don't get it wrong, capitalized and all. Just put whatever one you want to use. And I wouldn't recommend using glowing if you are, because that's actually set up through. Glowing is from the regular configuration, so you don't need to use that as an effect. But you'll put that here, and then the strength value you want to give it, you'll put there. These here are some custom names I put in. It'll randomly choose from this name list. So, if you want just one name for your mob, just put one name in there, and that'll be fine. If you want 20 names for your mob that could occur. Now, don't get me wrong, that it will randomly choose this, so you may get 3 Sparkies in a row. It's not going to go through the list in order. It randomly chooses. But color codes do work. So, for creepers, I put some green color codes on and come up with kind of some funny names, letting the players pick a couple of them. But, see, Enderman, there's no changes there really with that. Just different names, but no real changes to what he has available. The creeper has an option to be is charged. So that'll, charged creepers are a lot more powerful. That'll spawn in a bunch of always charged creepers, and 10 of them. And they do some real damage. But, like I say, they will not spawn in mob heads. And then here, Enderman, you see what we have is amount 0, because I I put a lot of mobs in here that aren't used a lot of the times because I don't recommend entering because they can just teleport away and they're gone, and it really screws your players over because they got to kill all the mobs to beat the event. The giant, I have one of these in my legendary fight, so there is one of those there. The ghast I don't use right now as much. Blaze, I love it. It's a great mob. We use it in epic and legendary. It actually kind of stops your snipers from sniping so much. The shulker we use in our epic and legendary. The skeleton we use in just about everything. But they're quite fun to use. The zombie we use in just about everything, and same for zombie pigman. I think he's in epic and legendary, but or maybe just legendary. The skeleton, the zombie, and the zombie pigman all can have custom gear equipped, you know, because they can wear gear and can carry weapons. And I'll show you how to set that up for each thing shortly when we do the command portion of this. The wither, I don't use personally. You know, if you got a reason you want to do it, hey, it's there. Go for it. Good luck. The witch, I love them to death. A great mob on this. And you know, had some fun with the names, as you can see there. Spiders, I'll tell you what, a spider with speed 1 is one heck of a hard thing to kill. It is fast. So just, you know, test this out some before you just give it a go. I really recommend you do. Same thing with the cave spiders. That speed 1 is fast. The guardians, you know what you could do, and this is if it was me, if you want to do a water battle, set your X1, Z1, X2, Z2 over water, so it'll always fall in water, and do nothing but a guardian fight, you know, and just drop them in there, because that'll be a blast. I guarantee you'll have fun with it. And then the Ender Dragon, you know, another one, if you wanted to do things with him, you could. Silverfish and Endermite, same thing. We don't use Silverfish or Endermite in ours, or the Ender Dragon or Guardians yet, but they're quite fun, so it's worth giving a shot. So what I'm going to let you look at now is real quick before we head into the game. I'm going to let you look at our legendary real quick, and we're kind of going to go down through here, and you'll see kind of the difference in, you know, this one actually occurs once a week, right? So that's why the big time there. That's a week in days. And there's their values for it on the test server here, because it's real close. I'm actually forcing it to spawn in at one location just so I can control where it lands. And that's what that does, because see, the X1 and Z1 are the same as X2, Z2, so it'll be the same spot. So it's just a 1x1 square. But there's our giant I told you about, you know, set up, ready to go. And he's got a lot of health. He's kind of like my boss mob, right? That's what I put him in there for. It's just something to make him have to hit to get the event done. And like the pigmen, I think we got 30 pigmen that spawn in this one. It's like this one's a 15-minute event, I think. I think that's 15 minutes or 10 or something like that. I think it's 15. So let's go over now, and I'm going to show you our test server here, and it's not fully complete on the build of this thing yet, but we're going to go ahead and demonstrate it today. I got to set it so creepers don't blow stuff up. I'm going to clear my inventory. First, let's go ahead and start on some of the commands. /MW/mobwars, mob war with a Z. There's quite a few of these aliases I've put in, so your players will have an easy time using it. But the main command is mob wars, so if you do help mob wars, you know, that's it. It's got one command and then a bunch of arguments for that command. So you see it has time, claim, store prize, test win, store gear, test gear, force start. So out of those commands, time and claim are the two that your players have. So if I run time right now, you're going to see that, oh, there's no mob wars running right now. Okay, and the reason I can tell that is all the golden, and you can format this any way you want. If you don't like the way I've done it, you can redo it. You know, it's all in configuration. The variables are all there, so configure it however you like it. I tried to do it the most short, concise way, where if you had a bunch of wars, you could see, you know, real quick what's going on. So all the golden tells you, you know, the mob war title, which is novice, hardened, epic, or legendary. The time until, that light blue is all light blue down through there. It shows 38 minutes, 21 seconds for novice, 54 minutes, 21 seconds for hardened, and so on. And legendary's 4 days, 3 hours, 49 minutes, 21 seconds. The time left, there's not any time left. Nothing's running. The location is up. There's no beacons yet because we haven't set beacons to drop yet. I think they drop at like 8 minutes till in this setting. And then mobs left. Well, there's no mobs left because there's no mobs out. And then Mob Wars claim, if you have it, see I have no rewards to claim right now, but if I did, it would give them to me. I don't let people immediately get their rewards when they win the event. The reason for this is if they have their inventory full of potions or loot or anything else, I don't want it getting overwritten, or it won't get overwritten. I don't want the rewards not been added to their inventory because it's already full. So that's why I put claim in. You can, and you know what? You can claim them anytime. It adds them together, stores them in configuration over time. So if you want to let them stack up for infinity, you can. It's whatever. I'm thinking about putting a max, claim option in configuration as well. So that may happen soon too. I didn't like a warning message to let them know. So that may be in a future update soon. But let's go through the commands now. Store prize. We'll store a prize for a group. So for example, what we're going to do is we're going to do a test win, and that will let me test a win in a group. So I'm going to test the win for novice. Oh no, because I can't test the win because I haven't stored anything for novice. So you can see it even tells me that. I tried to make it helpful to you so you could kind of get through it in one piece. So I'm going to be a cheapskate. We're just going to give a diamond, we'll give a nether brick and some light gray dye and orange dye, and just to prove it can come from anywhere, we're going to do something a little bit off par here and do potions are a thing that's often messed up, so we'll do that. And you know what, let's do let's see, I've been using this sword to destroy the crap out of stuff over the last little bit. It's good for testing because you can instantly kill a bunch of mobs that you didn't mean to spawn in when stuff goes wrong. Going to grab this guy real quick. Got it. And now let's give that to me. The reason I want you to see this one, oh crap, there we go. Alright, so that's a custom sword, right? It has stats that you couldn't otherwise access, right? So you can see the damage on this thing, right? It's nuts. So we're going to go ahead and prove how awesome storing prizes for this plugin is. So before you saw I did the test win and it didn't work. Well, that makes sense. I hadn't stored a prize yet. So I'm storing the prize for novice. Hey, it worked. So I'm going to clear my inventory now and get rid of this stuff. And we're going to test it. Oh, right there it is. And looky there. That exact sword has returned to me. So you can go generate custom gear for rewards, things like that. It will save it. And it is version proof. There's no NMS data being used here. So that's kind of the big plus to this plugin. This is going to be a really good thing. Now let's go ahead and we'll test it again, and you'll see it'll double down on me and actually give me twice, and 3, and 4, and it just keeps going. So anyhow, that's how that goes. So I'm not sure. Let's see which one this is. This is hardened. Okay. So what we're going to do now is let's see our commands again, and let's see what we need to go over next. So we've done test win. Basically lets you test your prizes, and you want to do test win in the name of it. Spell it right. Put a capital N if it's capital N for novice. And again, you don't have to use my 4. If you don't like my 4, leave them disabled. Delete them out of the config.yml and put your own names in. Do it your way. You don't have to do this with any of my content. It's just there to help. We've done store prize. We've done test win. Let's do store gear. So to store gear, let me go ahead and clear my inventory again here. We're going to store gear for a mob. Okay, so for a couple mobs. So let's just go ahead and grab it all while we're at it. Go this on down. Okay, so I'm going to put zombies in gold armor with a golden sword. And you can do, this is the cool thing, you can do custom gear here too. Okay, so you can store custom gear on your mobs. It will work. But we're going to, for the sake of hustling, we're doing the same thing. Store gear. Okay, and then I'm going to do nothing. Oh, doesn't work because I don't have mob wars in front of it. Alright. So let's do novice, and then what? Oh, didn't work. Let's try D. Oh, D's not the right mob. So I can do skeleton, zombie, pigman, or zombie. So let's make, we said zombie, right? So let's spell it just like I see it there, zombie, like this. Alright, it's stored. Now let's do the same thing for skeleton. So let's take off this gold. Put on that diamond. Let's give him a bow. Skeletons are good with bows, right? So do that. Alright, so all you gotta do is just switch here and do skeleton. And if you want to do this, you can do it for each, each mob set. For each of those 3 types of mobs for each battle group you have if you want. Okay, so that's an option. Okay, so that's done. So now we should have stored that gear. So let's do clear here. Okay, and then let's do MW. And it even allows you to test the gear as well, just to make sure you got it right before you begin. So let's do test gear, novice, zombie, and that should give us all gold with the golden sword. You agree? There we go, all gold with the golden sword. And then, and make sure whenever you set that gear that the item in your hand is in your hand, that you want set in their hand. So for that golden sword, the reason that sword showed up and the other gear didn't, it was in my hand physically. So make sure if you want them to hold a weapon that it's in your main hand whenever you do the stored gear. Make sure of this. And then, so let's say I wanted to test the gear for skeleton. It should be a bow in my main hand with all diamond gear, I believe. Yeah. Yep, there it is. So clear that. Alright. Now, so that's stored gear and test gear. Then we're going to do the last one, which is force start, my favorite. So let's do MW time again. So we got 30 minutes. I'm not going to make you guys wait that long. So we're just going to do a force start on hardened. So MW force start hardened. And there it is. It started. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put that sword back in my hand so I can help you guys clean this up. So on your first hit here, it's going to show joined event and things like that. So you can see it says I joined and whatnot. So grass getting in the way. And there's, as you saw, there was our zombie. And, oh, our skeleton's not in the diamond armor. I'll have to check into that before release. But, oh, I know why it's not in the diamond armor. You know why? Because we set it for novice and this is hardened. That's exactly why. So, let's go to where's novice at. Right over here. So, all that gear wasn't accurate at all. So, let's see here. It'll be force start novice. Alright, there's our skeleton, his diamond gear with his bow. And blade of grass. Skeletor. Boned. There's our zombie with, should be a golden sword. There he is. Yep, 5-volt death. Alright, and that's pretty much the plugin. From our other demos, when it ends, like I say, we'll go ahead and we'll run store or test prize on this. I'll beat it real quick. So you guys, this is the novice one. It shouldn't have. Oh, let's do the command on MW time. See what it looks like. So we have 4 minutes 22 seconds left with 50. We have 4 minutes 24 seconds left with 47 mobs to go because we're on novice. So I'm going to kill one. And that should be 46 mobs to go, right? And look there, it is. It is now 46 mobs to go. So, let's see if we can't beat the living tar out of 46 mobs. I'm also one of the worst PvPers. Sorry for that. And the plugin that inspired this was, or not the plugin, but the game that inspired this plugin was actually Destiny. For anybody that's played it, I modeled this off of public events. So that's where that came from, if you were wondering. Okay, so I've got 6 mobs left with 3 minutes to go. So now you'll notice there's no new mobs spawning in. I've got 5 mobs left, so let's check it again. Yep, got 5 left. I see 4 of them. Where's, oh, there's 5 over there. 5. Escapee. 4. 3. 2. And the beacon should go away. And 1. And it's gone. So now, that was novice, so we remember our rewards we set. So let's do let's do claim. Let's claim a reward, see if it's right. Oh, MW claim. Aha, there's our rewards with our crazy powerful sword. So that's pretty much the commands for the plugin. If you have any trouble with them at all, or anything at all with the plugin that you have questions about or concerns about, please let me know. I'll help you out. Just, you know, hit me up on Spigot, leave a message there. You can leave it on our forums for our server as well. This test server is available to public. It'll be at mulescraft.com is the IP of the server. And once you get here, just type in this server mob wars demo, and that'll get you to us. Okay. See, I press tab. That's where I'm at. We have a couple servers. You'll spawn in on the hub, so just come over to the demo server. You're welcome to test run any of these commands that you see me run today. You have full access to the ones that the plugin runs. You can start wars. Another cool thing to note is if you try to start a war that's already started, like this is hardened. So if I try MW force start hardened, it's not going to let you do that, and it's going to let you know why. So, but that's about it. Thanks for sticking around. I'm so sorry this is such a long tutorial for the setup. It really is an intense plugin, but we tried to make it easy on configuration, you know, on storing the prizes and the gear and all that. So that's why in the data folder, I don't want you touching the reward section, because the way it's set up, if we go look at it right now, you'll see for novice, it stores like this. You know, there's no way in the world you all would be able to, the way I store it makes it really easy to read in, but it makes it really easy for you to set too. I've always had a trouble with configurations and storing stuff in them with other plugins, because when you go to store items, you know, they either have to create an Excel list, or there's all these things that have to be done, and then, you know, you can't do custom items that well, and it's a pain in the butt, right? It really is. So this is more effective. You know, it takes less work for you, less work for me. So hey, why not do it? So thank you for your time, and I hope you download it.
All right, good job.
I think that'll be okay.
All right, now dance party.
Ender Dragon Egg Vomit.